Welcome to the first episode in the Zomboid story series. This is a story-based playthrough with a bit of a twist. This character and any future characters in the story series will be created with completely random traits that will be revealed as the story develops. Without further ado, let's introduce our first character, Ed Passmore. The house he found himself in is not his own. He wasn't able to get back to his house when the chaos started. This place is pretty empty. Most of what was here had already been taken or stolen by looters. What Ed found in the basement was shocking. There's blood all over the walls and writing scribbled across the cinder blocks. Someone had prepared this place as a holdout shelter, but it clearly didn't work. It's hard to say whose blood this is. Just to be safe, let's not touch it. There's some ammo left in these lockers, and although it won't be immediately useful, it might end up coming in pretty handy later on down the road. It looks like the noise he made when he found all the blood must have been a bit too loud. It alerted the neighbors. They broke the glass and are climbing through. That's too many. This place isn't safe anymore. Ed was at the gas station buying a pack of RC Cola when the lockdown began. Unfortunately, the gas station was sold out. He's an engineer by trade, and picked up his cola addiction after all the long nights staying up working. After the sirens went off, Ed hid out behind a nearby garage until the chaos began. It wasn't until he saw someone running for their life that he broke a window and climbed into a nearby house, where he hid out until the next morning. Now that house is no longer safe. Maybe the next house will be a bit safer. Ed peeked through the window, only to be met with 3 zombies staring back at him. It was enough to make anyone panic. Ed sat at a desk all day and doesn't have the nerves to handle this sort of thing. He rarely got exercise before the apocalypse started, so he's starting out unfit. If he survives long enough, hopefully he can get his fitness up high enough to not run out of breath after 3 minutes of combat. These prisoner zombies all have matching duffels. They either had awful timing and planned their breakout at the worst time possible, or they took advantage of the chaos to try to make a break for it. In either case, it did not end well for them. That duffel bag should come in quite useful in the near future. The garage has some tools, but there's not enough time to check everything before even more zombies around the corner. His only choice is to get out of here, and hope he can find somewhere safe to hide out. Well, so far Ed is off to a pretty unlucky start. All the houses have been looted or are locked up tight. This neighborhood hasn't been a very welcoming one so far. This place looks safe enough. The owner of the house is still on the floor, exactly where they fell after drinking several bottles of alcohol. At least Ed should be able to hide out here for a while and regroup. He's continuously having to fight zombies and he still hasn't found a weapon, not even a makeshift one. It makes fighting the zombies a real pain, and Ed is definitely not trained for this sort of thing. He hasn't even drank any cola today. The adrenaline alone is keeping him going, but pretty soon he's going to need some caffeine. Better get out of here before it gets any worse. Alright, let's try another house. Hopefully this one is safe. At least there's strawberries. Rat is just about the last thing Ed wants to eat at a time like this. But with the uncertainty of whether or not he'll find more food, he doesn't have a choice. In the end, it won't be the worst thing he has to do to survive in this place. Oh yeah, that's the first edition of Lasso Lady vs. Cthulhu. If Ed makes it out of the quarantine zone, he's gonna make a killing selling this thing. And maybe the strawberry will make the rat taste a bit better. The house doesn't have much in it. Looks like all these houses were hit by looters when the lockdown started. At this rate, if the zombies don't get him, starvation will. If he doesn't find more food soon, he's going to have some big problems. Let's move on and check the next house. Looks like the neighbor's already waiting in the yard to provide a warm welcome. And the back of the house is looking even worse. Maybe this window will provide a safe escape. Nope. The neighbors aren't very friendly, are they? Imagine becoming a zombie in nothing but your underwear. Then some creep comes by and tries to open your window. Well, Ed isn't a creep, but still. Bad luck for this person. For now, Ed needs to get out of here, or there's just going to be more and more trouble coming. At least the house he found a rat in should be safe enough for now. Hold that thought, there's already a zombie at the window. And let's just chuck him right back through the window. Back you go, buddy. For now, I think Ed is going to use the rat house as his stash. He can loot the nearby houses and then bring back anything he finds to the rat house. Alright, let's try this house again. There's gotta be some good stuff in here. Ed is an engineer, but has absolutely zero clue how to repair anything on a car. He rode a bike to work and rarely had occasion to look under the hood of a car, let alone actually fix anything. That being said, this mechanic's book is going to be critical for him. Knox is a pretty big place, and it seems like all the bicycles were stolen in the initial looting spree. So getting a car running and maintaining it is going to be absolutely necessary for survival. Not only did he find the mechanic's book, but he also found some food. He should be able to fend off starvation for at least another day or two with what he found. Ground beef and mutton chop isn't too bad food-wise for a zombie apocalypse. Alright, it's time to find some tools. I think the short-term goal will be to get a weapon and a basic set of tools, and maybe even try to find a working car. After that, it makes sense to explore the rural farms a bit, and then decide on where to build a permanent base. Actually, it could be a lot of fun to try to build a base from scratch. We'll see how that plays out. For now, let's start moving through these houses and see what weapons and tools we can find. Well, Ed has decided to take a bit of a detour here to smash up zombies in the backyard. Just give him a moment. The next house is a pretty small one, and it has a nice surprise waiting inside the window. Oh nice, another surprise, a wedge of cheese sitting in the refrigerator. I mean really, who wouldn't be excited to find fresh cheese? This looks like the good stuff too. None of that sliced processed nonsense. Maybe he could save this for a decent meal later on. We'll have to see how much more food he can find before he heads out of town. Well, there's not much more in this house, but at least he can fill up on water. Right now he's using a glass bottle to store water. Hopefully later on he can find something a bit more efficient. Maybe a canteen. That would be really nice. So far it looks like none of the nearby houses have any cars in the driveway. That does seem a bit unusual, but I suppose everyone took their cars with them when they tried to flee the quarantine zone. I'm sure he'll find something that works before he leaves town though. At least I hope he does. Washington High Season 5, Episode 3. I really don't think Ed has much interest in that series. He never made it past Season 2. Not enough character development. Oh nice, there's some more ground beef. So far he's finding some good high-calorie foods to keep his weight up. Well, there's a couple of wrecks in the middle of the road here. Unfortunately, neither one will ever be drivable again. They must have smashed into each other during the panic when everyone was trying to get to safety. Let's move further south and see if Ed has any luck there. No cars down here either, but at least there's several houses that can be checked for tools and weapons. There's a Hit Vids job ad in the mailbox. Was that an actual thing, where businesses were so hard-pressed for new employees that they put advertisements for jobs in your mailbox? Come work at a place who will value you as a human being. We'll even pay you $4.25 an hour. Oh, how the times have changed. Well, some things have changed. Kitchen knife and a can opener. That's perfect. Ed's gonna need those. Can't live without your trusty can opener. I guess you could use the knife, but that would be a bit of a waste. There's really not much else in this house. Oh, except there is a bit of meat already in the oven just waiting to be cooked. It turns out that Ed didn't need to eat that rat earlier. I'm sure he's starting to regret that decision after finding a decent amount of higher quality meat not long after. He does still have the rest of that rodent salad left over. You might be wondering if he's still going to eat it, and yeah, he definitely is. Even if he regrets it. Alright, let's start checking the rest of these houses. It's still mid-afternoon, so he has plenty of time before it starts getting dark. This is one of those empty houses that was on the market before the apocalypse started. I don't think Ed's going to find anything in here. Let's keep moving on. It's still pretty early, but he doesn't have all the time in the world before he needs to find a safe place to hide out for the night. The house to the north has a shed. Let's check there next. Hopefully the scarecrow out back has done its job and kept all the zombies away. You might not know this, but zombies are exactly as intelligent as crows. That's why they can be so dangerous. The shed has a whetstone, which is really lucky to find this early. That will last Ed for the rest of his life. For now, the welding torch will only be useful for barricading windows, but later on it'll be great for dismantling wrecks and crafting metal items. Then there's the bulk beam hammer, which is another lucky find. Alright, Ed spent a little too long in this shed, and the zombies are closing in. Turns out the scarecrow wasn't doing his job at all. There's even more food waiting for Ed in the oven. It is awfully considerate that so many people left food prepared for Ed. If only he could find some buns and some cheese now. And a bit of bacon waiting in the fridge. Well, that's some pretty good food. There's also some soup sitting out, but is he brave enough to try it? Who knows what's even in there? There is an angry zombie somewhere in here beating on one of the doors. Let's ignore it for now. Back to cooking. It did take him a few minutes, but Ed realized leaving the window open while cooking was definitely not the best idea. And then immediately after the window was closed, it gets shattered and a zombie jumps through anyway. At least he got the bacon cooked before things got too dangerous. The zombie's just slamming his head against the door. That must be pretty horrifying to be the first thing Ed sees when he enters the house. It makes you wonder what's on the other side of the door. Alright, let's put the zombie out of its misery. Sounds like that made another zombie angry. That's another oven with a cooked patty in it. This is starting to seem like a weird pattern. He's going to end up eating several pounds of cooked ground beef before this day is over. Looks like there's another zombie on the other side of this door. Now it makes sense why the zombie was trying to bash through it. Maybe it was a subconscious desire to be with the zombie that was waiting on the other side. It does make you wonder if these zombies have any memories or drives from their lives before they were infected. Well, now they've been smashed by Ed, so we'll never know. This basement's actually pretty neat. There's even a fully furnished bedroom down here. If it wasn't so dangerous to have only one exit, this might be a pretty decent place to try to hide out for a while. Other than an oven and a freezer, which could be moved down, it has everything you need to survive for quite a while. That being said, Ed is not going to stay here, so let's move on. There's a couple more remote houses off to the southeast here. They usually have pretty decent stuff. One has a shed, and they both should have basements to check. Ed might be able to find some tools down here. He's found a few so far, but he still hasn't found any weapons, which makes killing zombies a much more challenging proposal. This first one looks like it's locked up tight. Whoever lived here before must have been scared of a zombie apocalypse suddenly starting. Okay, the bathroom window's open, so at least Ed is able to find a way in. There is a little bit of food in the kitchen. Now that he's found some bread, he should be able to make sandwiches. That'll at least be a bit better than eating plain beef patties. And a little bit of chocolate isn't bad. Oh, and a can of strawberry soda. It certainly isn't his favorite RC Cola, but maybe it'll at least fill the gap until he can find some. This basement is even more impressive than the last one. Then again, this one wouldn't be one that you could survive in. Someone used to practice their music here. If Ed tried the drums, he would just alert any nearby zombies, so it's better to avoid it and stay quiet. He did find some ice cream though, which is nice to keep the weight up. You may as well eat it right away. You don't want it to melt. A steel bar technically counts as a weapon, so Ed is finally armed with more than just a hammer. That should make killing zombies a little bit easier. At least until this thing breaks. Oh man, Shogal's attack number 5? Is this the last one in the series? He's going to have to find all of these. Well, his main goal isn't collecting comic books, but he may as well collect some of his favorite things along the way. What is his main goal, you ask? Well, to burn down the engineering firm he used to work at, of course. He worked there up until the day of the apocalypse, but he resented the place, and he hated his career. Now that he's free from it, there's only one thing he wants more than survival. It's to never go back there. And if he burns it down, even after all this is over, he'll never have to go back. More on that later. In the meantime, he needs to survive. He's going to need a permanent source of food and better equipment if he has any hope of long-term survival. Hopefully this house has a few nice things for him. So far it mostly just has zombies. It is getting pretty late, and this house is nice and secluded from any of the larger zombie hordes, so let's bunker down here for the night. Rest up before moving on. He can get a little bit more exercise and read his book before he sleeps. Alright, day 2. I don't think Ed expected to survive this long, but here he is. He still has a bit of food left over from the first day, and he managed to get his hands on a few tools that will be quite helpful over the next few days. He still needs to find a car to try to get out of town. Worst case scenario, he's just going to have to hike out of here. The kitchen still had a few things left over that he didn't end up grabbing last night. There's even a bag of popcorn. It does seem a bit inappropriate to take the time to pop a bag of popcorn, but I suppose if not now, then when? Enjoy the popcorn while you can, Ed. Just don't burn it. That would be such a kick in the stomach while you're down. To burn your popcorn in an apocalypse. Well, I guess there's no better time than now, out in the middle of this dirt driveway, to add some cheese to the rat salad. He better end up eating this thing after the time he's taken to collect the ingredients and put it all together. You never want your rat salad to go stale. On the way back to the stash house, Ed met some more of the neighbors. These zombies seem pretty angry. The steel bar really isn't the best weapon, but it's at least a lot better than what he was using before, which was nothing. It definitely kills zombies a lot faster than just pushing them over and stomping on them. Alright, that's another group down. Let's take a quick stop inside this house and sit down for a few minutes. Ed gets winded so easily, and he needs to catch his breath after an encounter like that. He's really not used to swinging anything, let alone a big piece of steel at the skull of undead monsters. After smashing all these zombies, Ed is starting to build up a bit of a craving for that salad that he made. He's not really hungry, but the allure of rodent and cheese was just too powerful, and he needed a snack break. Let's grab another one of these duffel bags to use as extra loot storage. It's easy enough to drop it on the ground if things get bad enough, then Ed can always circle back and pick it up after the fight. They're also pretty useful for leaving at a stash house and using to organize loot. Sometimes I just keep non-perishable food in one and have it all stored in one place. This time, Ed's going to store all the extra tools in there. It can sit in the stash house for now. Let's eat some food and make sure his thirst is topped off before we head back out. There's this shed up here that hasn't been checked yet. Maybe he'll get lucky again and find something decent. Well, unfortunately, there's nothing worth carrying on him at this very moment in time. Maybe he can come back later and grab the tarp and the tape. Let's microwave this pork chop. Even saying that out loud is stomach turning. He's going to need to cook this thing for like 45 minutes to make sure it's actually safe to eat. I don't think the microwave is very well suited for cooking a full pork chop. Alright, it took forever, but it's finally done. He started cooking this thing at 8:20, and it didn't finish cooking until 9:40. That's pretty insane. I'm not even sure this thing's technically edible anymore. It's just a piece of jerky now. Not even good jerky, just dried out husk of a jerky. Even calling it that is generous. He's going to take this dried jerky and make some sandwiches out of it to try to forget about how horrible it's going to taste. He microwaved that thing for over an hour. Maybe the cheese will cover up his mistakes. I like how even after all of that, the sandwiches are providing happiness. I guess when you're in a zombie apocalypse, it doesn't take much to make things a little bit better. He needs to take a minute to get rid of his muscle strain, so Ed's going to take a seat, enjoy his lunch, and read a little bit of his car zone repair guide. Well, the muscle strain isn't gone, but time's wasting. It's already afternoon, so he needs to get a move on. At least he did finish reading the mechanic's guide. Oh, it's Ballin' Coolin' Season 1, Episode 5. For a moment, Ed did consider picking this up to watch later, but he didn't want you to know that rural Irish romance dramas were his secret pleasure. He's taken that one to the grave. Well, now you know, but don't tell him I told you. This cabinet has a photograph of a wedding reception. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the staying alive part of the zombie apocalypse, and it's easy to forget the humanity behind all these places that are visited in the story. It's little pieces like these that make me wonder, was this photograph left behind on purpose? Did they die before they could make it back home to pack? Were they in such a hurry that they only packed the essentials, or was it something a bit darker? Was the person who lived here in a place where they couldn't bear to carry on the memories of their past, so they chose to leave it behind? We'll never know. Maybe whoever's in this photo is somewhere out there still surviving. Maybe they found a safe place to live. Well, Ed barely glanced at it before leaving it behind and moving on. It really meant nothing to him, but it surely meant the world to somebody else. Maybe Ed will meet that person one day. Maybe not. Well, this garage has a generator magazine and a Mechanics 1 skill book. You have to love finding such important items when you don't even need them anymore. He already read Mechanics 1, and since he's an engineer, he started with the ability to use generators. I know it's a zombie apocalypse, but at this very moment in time, it does feel a bit like Ed is a home invader. He climbed through the bathroom window, and when the homeowner came to check out the noise, he started smashing over the steel bar. Then he proceeded to steal her french fries. It's okay though, she was definitely a zombie. Well, I'm pretty sure she was a zombie. I mean, yeah, she was definitely a zombie. Well, that's step one to getting a car up and running. Ed found an empty gas can in this garage. He already has a rubber hose, so now he'll be able to start siphoning gas from any car that has a bit left over. He can also skip that part and go right to the gas station and fill the can up, at least as long as the power is still on. First he needs to find a car though, and he needs a key, or he needs to work on getting the ability to hotwire cars. One thing at a time though. For now, he's going to leave the can here, and come back for it when he has more space to carry things. Let's see if he can get in this garage before the zombies make it around the corner. It took a bit too long to get the window open, and the zombies have made it out, so now there's only one thing left to do. Unfortunately, Ed is exerted and suffering from a lot of muscle strain pain. It's making killing these zombies take much, much longer than normal. Well, at least the garage has some good loot. It has the basic clothing repair book and a needle that he can use to start practicing. Well, start practicing after he reads how to practice. There's also a hatchet. That's a great weapon to find at this point. It looks like there was a party in this house right as the apocalypse was starting. Either a farewell to the old world or abysmal timing for a party. At least the party had ice cream. It's just a shame they weren't able to eat it before they turned into zombies. That's a good thing for Ed at least, because now it's his. Ed's just going to have a quick seat on the bed here, collect himself, and enjoy his ice cream. Thank you for watching the first episode of the first series for Zomboid Stories. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for updates on all future videos. For those of you who made it all the way to the end, please consider checking out my Patreon to help support the creation of more videos like this one. You'll find the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and see you for the next one.